Good morning, folks. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning. Sorry, I was having some switching audio troubles.
Good morning. Can you all hear me?
Morning.
Oh, good.
Yeah, hey, Drew. You guys?
Yeah, with this new setup, I'm never quite sure if it's going to work. So,
I think that's true of any setup.
yeah, that's true. The old one I had, though, I just used enough, right? It just, like I knew when it wasn't going to work. How are you all doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm pretty good, getting adjusted to life at a new place, but you
Yeah,
know, it's good. So far, so good.
cool. Good to hear.
My manager, since he does OCP stuff at the new job, is pretty enthusiastic about it. So, it's really great to have really strong support there.
Yeah, that's great. Definitely glad to have you back for this one.
I'm glad to be back. I missed you all. And I felt like I was out in the wilderness for like that month and a half. And don't get me wrong, I love the break, but
What did you do in the break?
uh, I built a really nice arts and crafts bench out of mahogany, and you got it finished, and built a plywood rack for my CNC machine, and cleaned out the garage, and stuff like that. Uh, I did a little bit of. I took a little bit of. I took a few courses.
Very productive. When you said
Yeah.
wilderness, I was thinking you were out in the wilderness somewhere.
Yeah, it was a strange thing, but it's for the best.
If that's what it takes to clean the garage, and it's worth it.
It was well. See, I have a shop in the garage, so I have like a CNC machine, a table saw, and a bandsaw, and a drill press, and a router table, and I don't know more. I can't remember everything. So, but it was getting out of control. So it was really nice to have some time to fix things up a little bit.
Yeah, I can relate. Hey, we're 7 minutes over. So shall we get started? I think one thing I just saw Shane is not going to be able to join today. So that is that. I see we have we have at least one new member or two, maybe. Majid, have you joined before? I'm trying to remember. I'm not very good with
Yes,
names.
yeah. Hi, Yogesh. Yeah, I joined in the previous meetings. Yeah, the last two meetings. Yeah.
Okay. Which company are you with?
AMD.
AMD. All right.
Yes.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
So you work with Leo and Carlos and Vilas, all of them, or
Yes.
which?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm part of REST architecture team led by Vilas.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. Welcome again.
Yeah, thank you.
So, yeah. Anyone else who is first time or haven't been introduced, we can spend a couple of more minutes on that and then start with our regular agenda. I guess not. Okay, so before we get started on the document, since Drew is also back, Drew, just to reorient you a little bit, couple of things are coming up, right? So OCP Global Summit is coming up in October, and Ivan had been working with folks from SK Hynix, Roy and others, and also Samsung to put together an update. Unfortunately, this time we're getting only 10 minutes, so there's going to be only one presenter. It could be maybe Ivan, if everyone agrees to that. And so we have to prepare and finalize slides for that, which I think would be like 3 slides. But the second item that we want to discuss is this finalizing, taking this requirements document to a releasable version, which I think we are moving in that direction, but we need to maybe rethink what's a reasonable timeline for that, right? So with that, I'll just open it up. Ivan, you want to comment on the Global Summit preparations first?
Yeah, I this week I plan to get kind of a 3-slide first draft together, Yogesh, and I'll talk to the Hynix and Samsung guys too about kind of what we want to put in it. But I know you and I have talked about like kind of 3-ish slides for 10 minutes, like what are we doing, where are we going, and a call to action. Maybe a couple pictures or the flow chart out of there. Anything else kind of high level we want to include?
So Evan, if I could recommend just like at least a little bit of big picture, so that if there's someone watching the presentation, they would see what you presented and know what they're getting out of it. So like the notion of a library provided by CPU and memory vendors that accurately diagnoses your memory problems and tells you the right thing to do. You know what I'm saying? And that it's
Yep.
fairly turnkey. And that should, I'm not trying to say it's a big part of your presentation, but I think it's really important to pique people's interest to know what they're getting out of it and why what we're doing is so important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at least kind of an intro and objective
Yeah, I agree.
slide.
I agree with Drew too, and I think we start with the even more higher level, like the vision kind of where we're taking this, and then what technical level, what people should expect from it. So that kind of sets up the stage pretty well. Attracts the audience, gets them interested if they are interested in that kind of stuff, and also shows the direction. So yeah, that's perfect.
Cool. Yeah, I'll work to get a draft together and then send it out to, I mean, at least the Samsung and Hynix people for those of us that had previously talked about presenting, and at least get kind of a first pass review done.
Sounds
Thank
great.
you.
And you know, I know I'm not a presenter, but I'm happy to help you with that, Evan. If you want me to, review it and help you sell this, I'm saying that just because I want to help you sell it. You know, I want to.
I am also counting on your support from the sidelines, Drew. I am not going to be at the summit this year, unfortunately, but I'm counting on you being there in the room and providing this all the support to all our projects from sidelines or from the stage.
Oh,
Okay.
that stinks. That's a highlight of my year to see you. Well, so let's talk. I need help getting. I may need some creative help getting there if I'm not a presenter, but it shouldn't be a big deal. I just need a ticket. I can easily get there. So
Okay. Yeah, we can find out something.
I'll have to figure something out. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, getting if you're not a presenter, they don't give you a free pass, right, to the summit. I see. Okay.
And I don't know. I just don't know if it's been budgeted for me to go since I'm, so new.
Yeah, let's talk about that offline. We'll figure something out. All right. Very well. And about the requirements document. I went through lots of comment this morning, and the organization did a little bit of formatting and just to get an idea of where we stand. What do y'all think? And since we have new pair of eyes in Majid, we can probably take a listen to his view also. And we also have Stuti from Samsung. Hey, Stuti, do you want to introduce yourself? Seems like you're here the first time, right?
Yes. Hello. Hi, everyone. Good morning. So I recently joined the team at Samsung. I'm working very closely with Jongmin and Yoon on the fault management telemetry side. I come from Intel. So over there, I used to work on the client side, client CPUs, telemetry enabling, and telemetry analytics. So as I'm continuing to ramp up in my role, I'm just getting an understanding of all the data that we collect today and how to analyze it and make insights out of it.
Awesome. Welcome. Great to have you. Do you have, I think I approved your access to the Google Drive. Let me know if you need any other or just ping or email if you don't have access to any documents.
Yeah, I did
The
get access to the requirements and the
Yeah,
infrastructure documents.
yeah, that's where all the work is, and really appreciate your comments or edits. We are still trying to, as we're discussing, trying to get it to a release version. So since you're seeing it for the first time, you could probably have a different perspective than rest of us who have been staring at it for months.
Yes, yes. I do have a couple of questions, but for now, I'm just going to be looking at it.
Oh, great, thank you. Okay, so folks, shall I share this document and then we can talk about it?
Yeah, Yogesh, do you mind if I share something I've been working on
Go ahead,
offline for a
please.
minute?
Please.
I mostly want to talk to Roy and, well, Jongmin or somebody from Samsung. But I've been working on consolidating, or really someone else from our team. Anna's been the one that has helped put this together, but she went through and, do you see that all right? My Word document?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she went through and took, because I think what happened is I put a bunch of register numbers in for the RCD and PMIC control words and flags. And then one of the other vendors went through and put all the names in, and we put them in different places, and we doubled up almost everything. So we went and took a pass through and just tried to get a register number and a register name, and then put a short description and categorize them by PMIC and RCD. I guess offhand, does this format look okay? I can get it into the document and we can make further edits if we need. And then I guess on the other hand, do we want to put this all in the main table, or do we want to reference an appendix? I mean, it's a lot of information if we use both names and register numbers. Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
Sounds good to me. I mean, it convey. I think the names and the numbers conveys the intent clearly. I don't know. I don't have a real strong opinion.
I think either is fine. Yeah, just to put it all the name in the original table, or either you just put it as an appendix. I think both is fine.
Okay, I'll see if I can fit it in the table, and if that doesn't work, I might try to think of a way to put something in an appendix. We'll see how much it muddies up the table, because what we ended up here with is, almost 3 pages of just 3 pages that are only actually 2 categories of data collection. It's just the specifics about it. Okay, well, I'll try to get that merged into the document and see how that goes. And then Jongmin, if you want to take a look and make sure we didn't miss anything or call anything the wrong name, but we've taken a pretty close look at it at this point.
I will double confirm it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Is there any space for OEM extensions?
I mean, we could put it in there, Hank. I don't see why not. I mean, we included a lot of like the vendor reserved registers and stuff in here. So, I mean, maybe take a look at what we have. I don't see harm in that.
Well, we want innovation, so I think that it's good to good to enable that.
Yeah, agreed.
I can live with the R04 reserved if it was changed to OEM or even 2 bits for OEM.
I guess what do you mean by that, Hank? If we kind
So
of just
that an OEM can supply something else and say, hey, we got to go to another error processing log.
okay, specifically to like PMIC error logging.
Just a key, so I need to know what to go look at. Even if it's 2 bits, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I mean, most of what we've done here is just referenced what was defined in the current JEDEC spec. I don't know if we want to wade into that here. I guess maybe just let me get it in the doc and we can kind of collect feedback on it and see if there's anything we can change or, have the ability to change, at least in this forum. We can kind of go from there.
I mean, and I guess what I would say is, if we're going to grab registers, we've got to clear it with enough people that this register will always be the OEM register. Or what we do is we just say we have a place in our log that you can stuff whatever register you want. But I guess our general code won't know how to grab it. So I guess, Hank, I just hadn't thought about how to do OEM from the RCD, but I love the idea. So if you have some suggestions on how to implement that in a way that works for everyone, that would be amazing.
Are the rest of these registers like defined in the JEDEC spec though?
Most of them here that we have names and descriptions on are.
Okay, then, I mean, if any of the reserve bits are going to be used in specific ways, then that would also have to be reflected there first, right? Rather than coming from OCP, I think.
Yeah, that's kind of my thinking too.
Yeah, I guess so. So what I had imagined was that the processor vendors would do something magic to diagnose things and have additional data they could stuff in the logs and provide. But and that's just another chunk of data in the CPER log for them to decode. They can always add to the CPER, but I hadn't really considered what you would do to add data in the PMIC or RCD. So we need to think about that, and not in a vacuum.
Yeah, I actually put a modification into one of these documents so that I took it out because I realized that it's being discussed in JEDEC, but it isn't officially published yet. But the in discussion specification for the next generation PMIC has additional error registers beyond what's shown here. So as more of a, to make it generic for these categories that you have that are based off of JEDEC at least, then I do think we're going to have some kind of reserve space if we want to be able to continuously modify this to stay current, because it is possible as new generations of the subcomponents of the modules come out, then they can have their own new definitions that add new capabilities that didn't exist in the previous historical ones. But that's not exactly the same as what was discussed a moment ago, because what I heard was more like, hey, an OEM could put something in that isn't necessarily part of an industry standard, but is some other piece of information that they want to also include. So I think that those are two separate topics. Does everyone agree with that?
I agree. Yeah. There's
Yes,
standard,
totally. It's a separate topic.
Yeah, standards grow and manufacturers innovate. Those are the two topics. Yeah.
All right, I'll get those notes down. Yeah, the good point on the new JEDEC specs, Kevin. That one for sure we need to make note of. And then Hank, yeah, if you have some suggestions on how to use OEM bits that we can do within JEDEC spec, or some way to approach that, we can kind of continue discussing that.
Could you add to the notes for OEM filtering?
For OEM filtering, does that look
Yeah,
right?
for log, just filter the logs. Yeah, that's cool.
Okay. All right, yeah, I'll go ahead and kind of remove the mess we made of these couple ones in the doc and get this in there instead. Hopefully this plays okay with Google Docs, trying to get this in there.
Always a challenge. So
yeah.
Going put it in a table or at the back in the one of the appendices later.
I think I was going to try it as a table first, Yogesh, and then if
Okay.
that just really messes things up,
Yeah.
I'll just leave the titles in the main table and then say to reference a specific appendix.
Okay, sounds good. So why don't you, since you have shared on, you want to share the document also, and maybe take us through which table we need to start kind of closing on. I think we're getting close to a couple of them, but
yeah, I can pull that up. There we go. Yeah, where were we last time? Yeah, some of the PMIC error stuff. Yeah, we've got a few different PMIC error, runtime, RCD, data buffer control words. But I can go through and fix that later. That I think was a lot of what needed cleaned up in the data logging section of it. I have a couple opens here still to define a good. I did chat with some other people at Micron too, and the good definition. I mean, it doesn't particularly matter to us. We can each define it, but I remember Carlos saying that if he just set some up in here, I think we would be fine with that. So I don't think we have a strong opinion on that.
and Carlos had an open for all the vendors. Maybe it's a little bit down about the GUID. I think it's this table, is it?
Yeah, it is. And I think Mita's suggestion here to just call it hardware vendor or device vendor does seem like a better naming.
For the column header, yeah.
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 Maybe just call it hardware vendor. Yeah, so I mean,
I have some question. This is
Yeah.
Samsung Jongmin. So the memory vendor, do we really need to provide GUID? So actually we don't have GUID in Samsung memory side.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have one offhand to use either, Jongmin. I mean, we would have to create one. So I remember Carlos saying that, you know, if he made them for us, I guess if Hynix is on board with that, we could have Carlos generate some for, you know, the 3 memory vendors.
Well, and just so you know, there's a Linux command to generate a GUID. GUIDs are trivial.
Yeah.
I mean, literally trivial. They just, you just type a command and you can crank GUIDs out as fast as you want. So it's really easy.
Mm.
So we just
So,
need, what we have to do, all we have to do is we have to establish an agreed upon authority for how the GUIDs are used. And it can be this doc and we're done.
What do you mean by agreed upon authority?
Well, because
Sure.
because we're counting on the GUIDs to be used a certain way, we need someone. We need like one place where we go and we say, oh yeah, that GUID is the AMD GUID. Oh, that GUID is the Intel GUID.
Yeah.
So
Is
just
there
a
like a
place.
centralized like registry or something for them?
I mean, it could. Well, if you want to get fancy, I mean, it could just be the document. It doesn't have to be fancy. We just have to agree on where it is.
Okay, yeah, I'm not familiar
I think
with that, but-
what Mita is getting at is like for PCIe, you have a database established. You can look up any vendor ID and you know what it is, who it is. For GUID, if you just have a GUID, there is no such equivalent of PCIe IDs equivalent of GUIDs, right? That's
Right.
kind of,
But like if you look at the C spec, there are GUIDs defined for it, for certain things already. So, there are places that GUIDs are reserved for a particular use. And, it's not like I'm worried about GUIDs stepping on each other because they're so big. I'm worried about us just using them consistently for the sake of code, being able to read a GUID and know what it is. So we can do whatever we want. It can be a database.
so what would be, yeah, so I think that makes sense. So what is this document, is this PCI spec, OCP FMFM spec would be a place to go, a reference for what the GUID is pointing to, which vendor? Would it be this document then?
I think it could.
For programmers at least, yeah.
And I think the other thing I would also, it's like as we work out what analyzers look like in general in the overall hardware fault management effort, the other thing that I would expect is that the analyzer can be queried and say, hey, what GUIDs should we send you? And it can say, here are the GUIDs I understand. But yeah, I think we should just put them in the document for the time being, and then if we find that doesn't work, we can pivot to a database or to a different document, because we may find that we have analyzers outside of memory where we need to register GUIDs, and so we may have to come back to the overall hardware fault management team and say, hey, can we have a GUID document or a GUID database?
Hey, Yogesh, I think there is already a ITEF database of the GUIDs, and I think Intel has 3 of them listed.
Is that for CPER?
No, it's Internet Engineering Task Force.
Do you have a link for that? You can drop in the
Yeah,
chat
I'm looking
for everyone.
it right now. Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's been around for like 20 years.
Oh, yeah. I knew there were registries of GUIDs, but can we use just a general registry for our stuff?
Well, that's the very good point.
I didn't think we could, but I guess we could.
It started out as a 3-byte address for IPMI, and I think they've expanded it to 4. Let me look for an address and I'll put it in the chat.
Okay. Well, and we want a full GUID as shown here, right? Like we don't want anything shorter.
Yes, those of us with blanks in this table just need to get something in there, and that should be the easiest action, I guess.
Really?
Clean that one
So
up.
there were a bunch of comments from Carlos asking everyone. Let's review those comments also about the GUIDs. I think he was asking, is that where were those? Maybe a little bit more up. Yeah, I think these, he's asking everyone, Roy and you and Jongmin. Intel has
Hey,
preferred
I've got to
GID.
go get on another phone call, but I do owe you the link and I'll send it later.
Okay, sure. So
Thanks, Hank.
basically those comments, yeah, Evan is just asking, hey, can you generate a GeoID for your company and put it here, right? Is that how we're reading those comments?
Yeah, I think that's the
Okay, got it.
the
That makes sense.
short-term action.
Okay,
He has this comment on the brainstorm specific API capabilities too.
right.
With which of those we might need.
Okay, and one maybe trivial, but could be confusing. A comment from Carlos, which I reviewed earlier this morning, was he said that platform fault analyzer (PFA) would confuse people with predictive fault analysis, or that PFA. Do
Yeah,
people agree with that? If that's the case, maybe we can think of something different, like system fault analyzer instead of platform.
yes, for this one.
Yeah. What do you think? We can close on that.
What do we call it in the requirements document? I mean,
This is the only place we are calling it out. This is specific to memory, right? This was not in the hardware fault management.
but my point is, so the problem is that we don't want 20 analyzers. We want one. We want one that just happens to do memory really well. And so, look, we should have a name in the top level document. And we don't. We just have vendor decoder analysis tools. So and maybe that's an action item, is get a name there and a name here that match.
Well, in the top level document, the whole FMFM is just kind of sits in kind of a wrapper that, hey, this is where the memory vendor decoding is. We don't have all these details exploded out in the top level or
Yeah,
hardware fault management,
I
right?
get what you're saying. I guess my point is that the I don't think that any end user wants to get a special memory vendor or memory analyzer from Intel and the memory vendors. What we want is a analyzer that analyzes errors from your product, including memory errors. And so this analyzer would be wrapped in whatever broader analysis tool you have that includes PCIe and core errors. And so
Yeah, none of that is changing, Drew. It's just the name here.
yeah,
It's very small. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm saying let's make a name here, and then we should go to the higher level document and use the same name there for the thing that we're getting from you. We're not redescribing it. We're just saying here's the name of the analyzer, and if you want to see details of how we do this from memory, go to this memory doc.
Sure. It's easy because it's not referred there so far. So
yeah. So I'm not trying to be hard here. I'm just trying to like make it cohesive so you can go from one document to the next.
Okay. So what do you think? Do we want to change this name to System Fault Analyzer? Does that work? Any objections to that?
Sounds
so
good.
We can close on that. Why don't you make that edit, Evan, and accept it? Let's start closing on things.
System. Cool. One checked off.
One checked off. Drew, I reassigned bunch of things that were in your name and some your and Mita's name in the front of the document, mostly introduction, problem statement, goals, and rationale, just to make sure that you have visibility on your new email with those.
So I will look at that and get on it. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So next meeting we can close on these 3 sections. Now going down, I think overview section, what is open here? The GUID is one. We should close on this soon. The required logging capabilities. Do we still, what is that you're trying to highlight, Ivan? Is there anything there?
Well, this was Shen and Carlos kind of talking about the levels of details passed between the analyzer and everything.
Yeah.
I don't think there are any actions in these comments.
Yeah, let's pin it till next time when Shane and Carlos will be here, hopefully.
Okay. I think
Or let's assign it to Shane and Carlos to close on it. Since they agreed, can we close on it?
Yeah.
I agreed on that. I think I don't
Shenanigans.
know.
Tab does not autocomplete.
Yeah. Reza, you can also take a look if you have any differing opinion on that. But I think in general it looks, and same as it, you can take a look at that too from AMD's point of view. All right. Moving down the list, this was the biggest logging capabilities, right? This was the one where we spent a lot of time. Let's first take another look at the big headings, like the big picture. What we're doing is the boot time and runtime, right? And within those tables, we are doing the table headers are what data to log, what details, what frequency, log source or detection point, how to use, and log format. I see.
I'm trying to think. I thought we had some, crash timestamp. There were a couple that were offline only.
So I think we are assuming system coming up, system running. We also have to have when systems going down, crash time.
Right.
So that's the one time third table, right?
Yeah, the crash time data logging.
Crash time data logging.
So those are the three overall. Is that defined up here? Runtime, offline.
The very first
crash time,
three
airtime,
bullets.
boot.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, three phases. What was that comment that has Paul, yours, names and stuff? I was trying to understand this. Scroll up a little. That bullet with the email. What was? Why is that?
Yeah, I took that one. I think this was from the original version of the doc. I took a note to check with our team on that one too. It's just how often to run the DFA for maximum effectiveness. I know we have some data on that. Offhand, Samsung suggestions here of every 2 hours seems okay, but I can take a look through the data we have and see if it differs at all.
So this is about the frequency of DFA, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the frequency of the runtime DFA for kind of maximum categorization effectiveness.
And it will allow to it will apply to, actually I'm trying to relate it to table now. In the table, does it apply to all the runtime logging?
I don't understand something here. So if you've run for 24 hours with no new errors, is there anything new for the, I guess I was imagining you just run when you get an error. You know, you get an error and you say, what does this mean? And you know, you do that over time and you end up seeing all the errors. But you're saying that we might want to run it because we might make a conclusion from the absence of new errors?
Only time it will make sense if there are things that it's polling. If it is always driven by interrupt, then yeah, I totally agree with you. Right.
Well, no, even polling, like it doesn't matter how the source of the error is from the machine. You know, the machine is logging errors, whether it's interrupt or polling. And
No, what I mean is if machine is okay. So maybe I'm misoriented here a little. Where is this DFA going to be running?
The purpose of the DFA is we need to logging some of the error information, whatever like the some interrupt methodology or polling methodology. However, anyway, we need to define the failure BIM like the low or block or any the other type of the failure. In this case, our session 2 hour is that defining the failure mode. Yeah.
but I guess here's what I don't understand is let's say that we've got a good rate limited, no leaky buckets. Leaky buckets are dead. We're doing rate limiting, so we're sending you errors magically once every certain time interval when errors exist, and let's say it's once every 10 seconds we get you a new error, and every time we send a new error, I was imagining we call the analysis tool with the errors that we've collected so far. And so the tool is running frequently based on, getting new errors. And now my question is, so that seems like the interval, but I could also imagine that you might want to say, well, we might change our conclusion in the absence of errors. So, call us to run but tell us no errors have occurred, and that's really what I'm asking you. Is if you're running when you get errors, then you don't need a periodic run. But if you're running when you don't get errors, then that's interesting.
So, Drew, so if the analyzer is working whenever the system vendor has like the failure, it would be really identical because maybe we can manage some proper and optimal last action whenever we observe the failure. It's really ideal one. However, like at least minimum time requirement time would be needed. So this is the reason why we propose 2 hours at least.
Sorry, that was a little bit muffled for me. Could you say it again? I'm not sure. Still not sure I understand. I'm not trying to be hard. I just don't understand. Are you saying that you want the analyzer to just be called every 2 hours no matter what?
Yeah, at least 2 hours if we have an error.
But here's the problem is that that means that if let's say that we're using this to predict a crash. If I wait 2 hours to call, then why am I even bothering predicting a crash? What I really
What I
want
mean
to do is call you every time I have an error.
Yeah, at least 2 hours. Yeah, maybe every 2 hours is the wrong terms. Maybe we can change the more proper term like the at least 2 hours. So we propose the hyperscale vendor running the
Yeah.
memory virtual analyzer.
So yeah, that's what I was also thinking, right? This is a recommendation and it's tunable, right?
But I guess what I'm trying to figure out is if I'm sending you all the memory errors, then you're being called regularly. And it sounds to me like that, and so I just want to be really clear here. It sounds to me like you also want the analyzer to run when no errors have been collected and just run periodically.
I think what's being said is a combination of both is being asked for, I think, by Jongmin. So when errors occur, then that can be considered to be like interrupt driven or whatever. But whenever errors occur, then it's called. But there's a basal rate as well of calling this, which would be whatever, like over here it's being suggested every hour or 2 hours. Even if no errors are occurring for like 3 days, every hour or 2 hour, this thing gets called.
And that's fine. That's what I just want to make that explicit because that's uh, a big mindset shift, and I don't have a concern with it. But I just want to be really, really clear. We want it called it when in the case where there are no errors, we want it to be called at this period.
Can I ask, what does it do if you have no errors?
Well, that's kind of wise, and a mindset shift to me too.
So maybe we need to redefine. So yeah, no error case and the error case frequently, it will be fine. It will be okay. So yeah, no error case, absolutely, we don't need to hold this action. Okay. However, there is some frequent error. Some of the vendor want to frequently, whenever they observe the failure, they want some last action and define a memory fault. What type of the memory about the last section would be needed. In this case, maybe the vendor would choose whenever they observe the failure.
Well,
However, some vendor doesn't want some of the last section too frequently because there would be some interruption would be needed. In this case, maybe our recommendation at least to 2 hours.
Yeah, so let's sleep over this and come back to this. Ivan, you want to add a comment about select the whole bullet and just we need to decide on a few things there. Assign it to, I mean, really
yeah,
everyone.
and I think it's really important. We want like as end users, we want to take action whenever there's a performance problem or a risk of crashing. But for that to be effective, then we don't want to ever wait. And so, what we may want to talk about is what is like, and I think Roy did this. He said, what is the longest amount of rate limiting we can do of errors. If we need to call the analyzer periodically in the case where there are no errors, that's great. But and we just need to define why and what it's going to do. If there's some reason, that's fine. I'll believe you. But I don't want to say just call it 2 hours without reason. Oh, and I certainly don't want to wait. Let's say I have an error. I don't want to wait 2 hours ever for the memory vendor to analyze it.
Now I remember the purpose of this request. Some of your concern was that you need to save too many error logging if there is too frequent error without uncorrectable error. In this case, some of the database or some storage space is needed. So a hyperscale vendor doesn't want to save all the data like the 1 year or like the 1 month. So
so you want
while we have some
Yeah,
Thank
this
you.
is more my memory of it too, Jongmin. Like, and I think Drew, I guess I can't think of a case that we have seen at Micron where we would want to run the analyzer with no new errors.
It was inconceivable to me, but I believe you if you came up with a reason.
Well, I haven't yet, but now I'm thinking about it.
Sure, think about it. I mean, it's fine.
But for this one, I think I remember what we were talking about was that we would want, when there are errors that are happening frequently, we would want at least 2 hours worth of logs run at one time. Like, yes, you can run it every time there's an error, but if you run it again, we want to be able to reference the data that already ran through on that device ID.
Yes, yes, and so that's just a matter of wording.
Yeah.
But I think that we want all of the error logs from the last 2 hours. If we word it that way, that would be clearer. Or
Right.
all of the, but I was thinking it was more like all of the error logs from the last 90 days. And if we rate limit, so the way it works, and so this is what I would tell the end users is, hey, if that's too many memory errors for you, rate limit it. rate limit it at and then we need to agree on what the rate limit is. But we know for certain that we're always getting a sample of memory errors, because even if you take interrupts to log them, the interrupts can't keep up with the memory controller. We are sampling. And so what we could say is that we want to poll the memory error, or not poll, we want to rate limit the memory errors to, one every 30 seconds. And if someone can't handle, or one every 1 second, and for me, it's one every 1 second. But if you can't handle one every 1 second, make it one every 10 seconds, one every 30 seconds, one every minute. And at some point, if you can't handle, one error per minute from a machine, what kind of logging infrastructure do you have? There's got to be some, and maybe you say one every 10 minutes, I think was what Roy came to the conclusion, that they could make sense of what's going on. They lose some accuracy if you get one error every 10 minutes. But do you see what I'm saying? Let's give a time span for the errors, and then also a rate limiting limitation, and that will allow us to manage how much data we collect.
You're assuming, you're expecting no RAS action be taken when the errors start showing up?
Oh, I am. That's why I'm saying one every 1 second.
I mean, it all depends, right? I mean, that depends on the policy platform has versus the rate of the error that is occurring.
Well, and I want to, yes, and Reza, I am trying to end leaky bucket counters because they hide the early errors. But I appreciate their goal, but I think a better answer is the rate limiting. And so we just decide on how tunable the rate limiting is, and we decide on what time span we send to the.
You get 10 errors in 1 second, let's say. And let's say your policy is to take a RAS action on the 10th error.
No. That's what I want to end. So we are going to never count them and have a threshold. We're going to say there were 10 errors on this row. I'm going to do a post-package repair. So that's the difference.
I mean, you already counted them, right? You started with the count.
Not if it's a leaky bucket counter. If you just use a raw counter, you don't know that it's along a row. So the point is, you've got some rate limiting. You gather rich error logs at that rate limit. That gives you enough to determine a pattern in memory, and from that pattern, you decide what's broken and what action you can take about it.
So let me think about, so we are talking about a platform where RAS is handled by BMC, telemetry is in BMC, and then you are the one, BMC is the one that has all the visibility, takes all the actions, and can record.
Actually, it's a little different than that. So the BMC might do it, but a lot of the hyperscalers want the BMC to be pretty much passed through and have an analyzer that runs in their cloud that makes sense of what's going on in the machine and tells the machine what to do. And that's reflected in the figure 3 of the fault management requirements document.
Okay,
So,
but all the errors are first visible to BMC.
the BMC says, I got an error log.
I mean, you don't have two different agents acting here. You have one agent that does the collection, analyzing, deciding what to do, and who cares who invokes it. But
Well,
I mean, if that is your environment, then it does matter. Work, right?
It does matter, and so we've talked about the RAS API, and the RAS API is something that runs on the BMC that can discover error sources and connect them automatically. And so the BMC in that case is also pass through. It's talking to the SoC or the GPU or whatever PCI device is talking to it, and it's and from talking to that device over some protocol, it can enumerate the error sources and the error injection capabilities, the error fault management capabilities, RAS actions that we can take, and then passes those through to the cloud provider's infrastructure. So the BMC is fairly pass-through.
Yeah, okay. For the specific platform configurations like you're discussing, I think it is likely to work fine. But it may not be generically various parameters may be at conflict, but it will iron out. It's not a big issue.
Okay, well, I'd love to understand more, Reza, about where the pain points are. I can understand that like a I'm not trying to speak for Dell or HP or any of them, but I can understand that a company like that might not be confident that the end user will run the analyzer that they provide that wraps this one. And in that case, they may decide to make a feature-rich BMC that allows the machine to self-analyze. And there's really nothing stopping them from doing that with this proposal, other than that takes some resources, and they're going to have enough resources on their BMC to do it.
Yeah, so this is a good point to stop today. Let's pick it up here next time we are on top of the hour. Very good discussion. I'm glad that we got to this point. One more thing before we part, I think we need to think about it is we are talking in terms of the data being logged in these three tables, and we're talking in terms of three different analyzers. Do we have a pointer to which analyzer from the nature of data, or do we need to insert that?
You don't really. So the way it works is that it goes to like we collect a CPR log, and the Intel, let's say it's an Intel machine. Intel code collects the CPR log, and it's Intel CPR, and that goes to Intel's analyzer. Intel's analyzer decodes it, and where we have to have
I understand that. I understand that whole big picture, Drew. What I'm trying to get at is we may have accidentally introduced two different frequencies by the virtue of introducing frequency for the data being logged and introducing frequency for the analyzer. And that's what I'm trying to reconcile by raising that point, just to think about it.
I mean, doesn't the analyzer just? I think the logging drives the frequency of everything.
So then we need to make sure that they are same.
Yeah, I think that's simplest for sure.
All right, then. Good meeting today. Thank you, everyone. Please go through the document, leave your comments. I think there are a lot of little things like that we need to clean up, but good progress today. Hopefully next time the first three sections or section till this point will be ready enough for us to say it's done for now, and then we'll take it from there. Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Yogesh, and I'll get out a draft of the slides for this year's summit.
I appreciate that. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Drew, I'll work offline with you to get you to the summit. Okay.
Oh, thank you. That'd be awesome.
All right. Thanks. Good. Bye now.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.